Hi, hello, welcome back to another commentary video. Hope you guys are doing well, all that stuff. Last commentary video did really well. That was what 8K hours of roaming really looks like. If you haven't watched that, definitely go watch that one. I'm pretty proud of that one. But in today's video, we're going to talk about some longer form fights, really, some 1vx, 2vx, and even 3vx stuff. Not really the cleanest of fights, I would say, not really like montage material, right? They're not as satisfying, I would say. But they're a lot more important, I feel like, to talk over because they're a lot closer to what you're going to run into normally. And, you know, like I said, all these fights aren't going to be montage material. It's going to be kind of hard to keep up with sometimes, but that's how World v World fights are. They get a little hectic, especially when you're running around with the boys, right? But yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoy. Hopefully you learned something, and let's get into it. Alright, this first fight is going to be the shortest, but there's something pretty important I want to explain, so I'm just going to pause it right about here. And as you can see, I'm fighting a DH, I'm fighting a Virtuoso, and some kind of pistol-bound thief. Whatever it is, I don't know yet, because they immediately go into stealth, per fucking usual. But there's a couple things I want to focus on. I want to focus on the DH chain pull. I want to focus on, which is the biggest thing, right? I do not want to get pulled into the traps. That will kill me almost immediately. I want to watch out for longbow 2. I want to watch out for the vert F1 or F2. And then obviously I want the thief to stay away from me. I don't want to face tank all the damage. However, I want to make sure that I dodge the god chain first, right? That's the biggest thing. And once the thief jumps on me, I see that it's axe thief. I'm kind of playing defensive, waiting on that god chain. There it is. Now I'm able to commit some damage to the Dragon Hunter, and I'm able to down him with a nice continuous split burst, and now a Dagger Catalyst joins the fight as well. Now, as soon as I see that there's a down and they go for the res, I'm able to consolidate a lot of my damage. Now I'm just looking at this thief. Biggest thing I want to interrupt is that heal, which is right there, the big blue circle. That's all you got to worry about. And I'm able to consolidate my damage and get all of them. Unfortunately, I do go down, but I'm still going to count this as a win because I just can't win the 3v1 downstate battle, unfortunately. But that's something important, I feel like, to talk about. Breaking classes down is extremely important in 1vx fights just because you can't dodge all the damage. Alright, this is going to be first of the longer form fights that I was talking about. Not really the cleanest of fights, but it's versus a Deadeye, a Willbender, and a Firebrand. I'm up top on this wall here. I'm going to use that to my advantage, and when I go for the continuous split burst, I'm going to C-split on top of the wall. That way I can return back on top of the wall and kind of keep myself out of the damage. Jump back down again once some of the damage is landed, and I see that I have it down. Unfortunately, the Deadeye was able to res the Firebrand in stealth, and as soon as I see him go for that invuln, I'm going to jump down, mass invis, and I would normally go for a heal here, but I'm going to hold on to it a little bit longer because all the damage pressure is going to come from the Deadeye, and I want to be able to reflect a lot of that damage. I'm able to down the Firebrand with an easy Greatsword 4 and Greatsword 2 long range burst. Now all I'm worried about is this Deadeye, right? I'm going to slowly kind of cleave the Firebrand over time just because I know that the Deadeye isn't going to commit to a hard res and I don't really have to worry about it too much. I'm going to play defensive though because I'm kind of biding my time on this cooldown because this matchup right here is going to revolve around that sword 3, and because I wasn't able to land a ton of damage off of it the first time, I kind of have to wait for it to be up again. Now, like I said, playing it slow, playing it defensive, just bide my time. Not too worried about the Firebrand. If I have to tap him every once in a while so that he doesn't self-res, that's fine. And Deadeyes like this that are running, you know, just double rifle, you're not going to kill them very quickly at all. And you really shouldn't do what I did there where you poured into them and then try to do a burst because they always have 18 dodges ready. But I'm going to speed this up a little bit because all he's going to do is port and then stealth and stealth. Alright, after a while of doing that, I'm able to charge my mantra and follow it up with a sword 3 into a Greatsword 2 F2 burst to down this Deadeye. Now, that is just in time for another Willbender to come up the switchback, and I definitely don't want all my work to be in vain, so I want to double down this Deadeye as fast as possible. And as soon as this Willbender goes for the res, I try to go for a Greatsword burst, but I don't do a ton of damage. That makes me realize that this guy is very tanky, so he's not going to do a ton of damage to me, hopefully, I hope, right? So I can be a little bit more aggressive than I normally would fighting other Willbenders. Now, I see there's another player coming up on the switchback. I haven't had a chance to check him yet. Definitely want to do some decent damage to this Willbender if I can before he shows up. Unfortunately, it doesn't really work out. Like I said, that Willbender is very tanky, not entirely sure what he's playing, but I see the fire overload from the Tempest, and I know that it is a Tempest. He's probably support, so I'm going to back off and kind of reevaluate my situation. Here he gets stunned, and I'm not going to waste a stun break because there's not really a lot of follow-up damage to be worried about, so I'm just going to save the stun break for a later time. And here I'm just going to kind of try to figure out what I want to do. I don't think focusing the Tempest is really the best option just because I don't have a lot of cleave if the Willbender decides to go for a res. So I decided it's probably best to just go for the Willbender, and I'm just kind of trying to find a way to get through both of these players. Very tanky, a lot of resustain. And often I have people ask me a lot of times, you know, when do I choose between Greatsword and Spear? And this is really why I'm showing you this clip, because this is a perfect time to show you why. I just spent probably a minute and a half trying to kill both of these players, right? Had a very long fight before where Greatsword did great, but unfortunately for players that are just tanky and they face tank a lot of their damage with just skills alone, this is where Spear really shines, because you can output a ton of damage very quickly. You're able to CC them very effectively, and you know, just kind of tear through a lot of that damage, right? That was almost 100,000 damage in just a matter of seconds on 2 players. And for some reason this Willbender is still alive. I have no idea what this man is playing, but he is tanky, oh my god. But because I have Spear here, I'm able to get a little bit more effective damage, right? Spear has a really good quality of just kind of ripping through tanky players with a lot of boons, something that Greatsword just cannot do quite as well. But that's a good time to kind of show you where Spear is better over Greatsword. Alright, this next fight is going to be pretty hectic. Wasn't really sure how to commentate over it, so kind of just did my best, right? But I feel like it's important to show anyways. It's going to be a 3v8 with me, Tubby2Ton, support Tempest friend of ours. However, in the beginning of the fight, it's going to start off as a 3v3 with a Virtuoso, a Support Tempest, and an Axe Thief. Now, I want to go for the Tempest first because I have all my damage readily available, and I feel like I'm able to chew through him fairly easy. So I decided to go for that first, and like I said, I'm able to down him fairly quickly. And in the background, you can see that Fresh Air Weaver join the fight, as well as a Reaper and another Thief, and later on a Harbinger. However, I use my Mass Invis when our Tempest friend goes down, so we can both power res through that. And here I'm looking for my down that I made earlier. I see it in the very back there. Want to make sure that that doesn't get resed, so I go ahead and try to consolidate some damage on top of that. And in doing so, I'm able to down the other Virtuoso as well. And however, our friend does go down again, so we're kind of in a cleave battle here. Want to make sure he rallies off of that, and in doing that, I have to make some distance because I got a lot of damage pressure on me. However, Tubby did manage to down that Fresh Air Weaver. Unfortunately, our Tempest friend goes down for a 3rd time in the row, which means he goes double down immediately. And here I'm about to go down as well. However, Tubby is able to rally me with that Weaver, and I go straight for this Reaper, not wasting any time, right? Want to get this Reaper out of the way as fast as possible. Now all we're left with is 2 Thieves and a Harbinger. Now, I'm in a pretty bad spot because obviously Mesmer doesn't do very well into Thieves, and neither does Rev really, but you know, I'm very low in cooldown, very low in health, so kind of have to play safe here. Want to go for that Harbinger because it's the next best target, but fortunately for us, that Harbinger decides he doesn't want any more and runs away. And now all we're left with is a 2v2 between 2 Thieves. Now I tried to hit this Axe-bound Thief in stealth, but unfortunately did not do a ton of damage to him. However, Tubby is able to land a Jade, and we're able to cleave that guy out with some Scepter 3 and Staff auto attacks. And now all we're left with is this other Thief, which I believe is Sword Dagger. And luckily he thinks he can do the 2v1, so we were able to wrap this fight up fairly nice. Kind of just going to walk him down, right? But the reason I wanted to show this fight is because I used a lot of skills that were for my teammates as well as me, and you know, being able to play around other players, even DPS players, and that pressure that they create to get yourself some breathing room is really important. Alright, this next fight is kind of why you shouldn't be waiting for cooldowns for duels, right? At the very start, I'm fighting this Nade Scrapper, and he gets some decent damage on me at first, but watch me fuck up this continuum split, dude. Jesus, what am I doing? Oh my god. But anyways, moving on. I'm able to land some decent damage on this guy. I'm able to force the Elixir S invuln, and while he is invuln, I decided to go for a shield 5 to catch him at the end, and then follow it up with a Gravel so I can auto attack this guy to death. And I decided to go for a stomp, but I know he's going to try to CC, so I go for a block, and then I see another player appear. Now, I didn't click on him, I really should have, but as soon as I see the heal, I know immediately that it's a Thief. And I'm going to pause it right here, because this Thief has 3 options, right? The first option is he could just run away, which he might. The second option is he could attack me, or the third option is he could try to res the down state that I have here. So what I'm doing is I'm going to click on the down state, see if the health is going up, and then also watch around me to see if they're going to try to attack me from stealth. Now, as soon as I see that health start to go up, I know that the Thief's there. I go for a Greatsword Burst, and I'm able to down the Deadeye without ever even seeing him. And across the bridge over there, I see that another player is coming in. I see that it is a Soul Beast. I'm not really sure what this build is. At first I thought it was Connie because I saw the short bow and the Aboga, or whatever the fuck that thing is called. But the Connies weren't really doing a ton of damage, and he does have really good boon duration, so maybe he's some kind of weird tanky build, but I don't really know. Kind of in a weird spot, right, where I have some cooldowns, but I don't really have enough to do a ton of damage, and he also has an invuln, so kind of wasted my F1 into that. And I'm able to get some decent damage through F2 and Greatsword 4, and really just trying to boon rip as much as I can, just because look at those boons, man. I don't even know what this build is, but I'm able to slowly whittle them down. Just kind of ton of auto attacks, right? Ton of just boon rip in general, really doing work here. I'm able to emote him into the Gravwell and then the Greatsword 4 to down him and finish that fight. So yeah, really good example of not waiting on cooldowns and for duels and stuff, because fights like this happen one after another quite often. Alright, this next fight, I reckon we're going to wrap it up with this one. It's going to be a little bit hectic again. I'm able to dismount that Reaper, and I really wanted to go for the Harbinger. Got the clarity on the mount, but the Harbinger does run away. So I decided, let's go ahead and jump on this Reaper instead. And in doing that, I'm able to do a ton of damage. Not quite able to down him because he has Shroud, but that's fine. I'm able to get the clarity again from the guard and then jump right back on him. And unfortunately, this Virtuoso was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, took a ton of damage. I'm able to down both of them at the same time. Here I'm going to make some distance and get a safe heal off because my health is really low. Fighting with that RI Camp Lord is always a huge gamble. But I don't want to let the Harbinger get a free res off, so I'm back in being aggressive. And I really was going to push this Harbinger again, but unfortunately I saw that he coped and got really lucky on charging this Cleanse mantra, and I'm able to cleanse that Fear as well, and I'm able to get my heal off, and another Harbinger joins the fight. So now I have to kind of play around this little hut here, waiting on my blocks. Don't really have anything else to help me right now, so as soon as I get them up, I'm using them. And then a Tempest joins the fight, I believe that is, and I'm able to get some decent damage on all three of the players all at once. I'm able to down all three of them all at once, and definitely going to cleave them out. However, didn't realize that this Tempest was a different server until now, and that Harbinger does rally again, and unfortunately kind of in the same spot, right, where I don't have a lot of cooldowns and nothing else is really going to help me. But he's also resing this other Harbinger, so I cannot let that happen. Again, holding my weapon set longer than I normally would because I really want those blocks, and especially now where I don't have a lot of con clear or cooldowns in general. And then this Reaper from before joins the fight back from respawn. Try to go for a ton of damage here, almost get the leadership proc on Mass Invis, but unfortunately it is just a little bit short. But I still thought that was a good fight, a little bit hectic, but yeah. Alright, to wrap it all up, there's a little I think it's a Connie Chrono and a Power Deadeye in the background here, just a little 1v2, but like I said, hope you guys enjoyed, hope you learned something for sure. These fights weren't really, I know, the most entertaining, I guess. Definitely a bit longer on the fight side of things, but I feel like it's more often than not what you're going to run into, right? Long fights that kind of slowly get trickled into more players, and going to run into some tanky players, some really glassy players, and some players that are just going to take a while to deal with. And just kind of going through the thought process more than anything else, kind of not really focusing on how good the fight itself is, but how common that kind of fight is, if that makes sense. But hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think about it, and if you'd rather me go back to fights that are a bit more entertaining to watch, we can definitely do that too. Got some other things lined up in the pipeline as well. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and all that good stuff.